Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Welcome back to the only podcast on the internet that knows there is a slight legal difference between executing an arrest warrant and invading a country.
Yes, that's right. This is the 2026 edition of Doctors Not Doctors, where I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And this week, we are coming to you a bit earlier than planned.
That's right.
I was hoping that we would have a bit longer of a break, more than 3 days into the new year. Or 4 days now. We're recording on the Sunday, 2020, January 4th, 2026. And we were all shocked to wake up yesterday morning.
Yeah.
The news that depending on which side of the aisle you are, that America extradited a criminal from Venezuela. Or that the United States of America invaded a sovereign country, even if you don't like the person that they did it to. The United States has now declared a new style of sovereignty upon the world.
The world is a little bit different. Jesus Christ. I mean, okay, where do we even begin with this? And I'd like to begin with the fact that the administration does not seem to have a clear story about what the fuck just happened, right? So, like, on the one hand, right, you've got Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State of the United States.
Little Marco Rubio, by the way.
Little Marco, arguing that this was not an act of war, that this was a Justice Department operation with the help of the Department of Defense, but of course they said Department of War because,
Department of War.
Exactly, right? That this was just them executing an arrest warrant for an indictment in New York against Nicolas Maduro, the president, at least de facto, of the Republic of Venezuela, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Yeah.
And that's all that this is, right? And the reason why, Chris, you see,
yes, of course, this is very important.
Yeah, exactly. Is that Nicolas Maduro is not really the president of Venezuela, because you see, under international law and under treaties that America has signed on to, and under every understanding of how, law works, heads of state have diplomatic immunity.
Yes.
In other countries, right? That's part of what it means to be part of the interstate system. So if Nicolas Maduro is the head of state of Venezuela, he has diplomatic immunity in the United States. He can't possibly be charged. It's impossible, right? And obviously the way they're getting around that is say, well, he's not really the president. And the reason he's not the president, Chris, you'll appreciate this, is that he stole the last election he was in. He did not accept the will of the people, right? And he's just like, no, I actually won. And the other side, they're the ones who tried to steal it. So really, I'm still the president. And then he tried to, arrest, possibly assassinate, the people who ran against him. Urubia is the guy who actually, it seems, won the election. Yeah. He had to flee to Spain. And of course, Machado, who was the person who was going to run before the government decided, no, you're not allowed to run because we think you might win.
You would think you might win. So they shifted so she shifted her votes to the other guy.
Right, exactly. So
her supporters with the other guy,
And they came up with some pretty strong evidence that actually, Urubio won by like 2-1. Maduro is not super popular. He's got about a third of the country behind him, but like 2/3 of the country is
There's that magic 30% number that will come up and up and up again this year.
Yeah. But so the really funny thing to my mind is that this means that if you're someone who loses a democratic election, but then you try to retain power through, the use of violence and fraud and what have you, then that means that you can be rendered into another country. And I feel like they didn't really run that past Donald Trump before they ran with that storyline.
Okay, listen, like they don't need to run it past Donald Trump for that storyline because they don't believe that that's what they did. So if you said, I mean, for Marco Rubio and the MAGA movement to then say, all right, we're going to take out this guy. Don't worry, we're not breaching international norms and traditions because he's an illegitimate president. He's not supposed to be there because he committed fraud in order to be in office. Now, we wouldn't know anything about that because we've never done that. Right, Mr. President? Yes, that's right. We were always supposed to be. And of course, side tangent here. If Trump doesn't believe believes that he won the 2020 presidential election, that means he's in an illegitimate third term.
Yeah. Yes, that's true, actually.
Yeah. So, so in a number of different ways, the first argument that the MAGA administration has made makes no sense. It falls down because they're basically initiating an arrest warrant upon a foreign leader who I think we should declare right off the bat is a shitbag.
Oh my God, Maduro is such a prick. Like,
yeah,
he is like, I mean, honestly, it's probably not going too far to say that he is like what Trump kind of wants to be in his heart of hearts.
Yeah.
Like, Maduro is someone who is mostly interested in enriching himself, not at all interested in like the development of his country. Someone who's committed multiple crimes, and someone who has, unlike Trump, successfully managed to retain power despite losing a democratic election. So
yeah, exactly.
He's like, you know, Trump, but like, more successful, at least until 2 days ago.
Up until 2 days ago. So unless you're underneath the rock and haven't been paying attention to the news, because we're still kind of in that end of the holiday period, the United States invaded Venezuela to remove by force the president of that country, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife. It is now, obviously there was a massive military buildup, kind of like Putin and Ukraine, before this happened, where I think the USS Gerald R. Ford, the largest aircraft carrier in the world, as far as I know, was positioned off the coast of Venezuela. They used, from what I understand, they used very interesting technology to knock out all of the power in a certain area of Caracas in order to get access to him. But it seems like there was also some inside help to make sure that everybody knew where he was. The CIA was openly involved in this now. And, you know, in the postmortem, they are very clear that the CIA was in Caracas, was in Venezuela to overthrow the government, which is, well, I'm going to take that back. Not overthrow the government, but to remove Maduro.
Right.
So,
and this is, okay. So I think a few things just to say on that topic. Number one, this raid was incredibly successful from a tactical standpoint in terms of like inserting, you know, a few dozen American troops into like literally the capital of another country to seize the head of states and bring him out and not get a bunch of Americans killed doing it. That's impressive. That's impressive.
Yeah, it did what it was supposed to accomplish.
Yeah, like
very clearly, very quickly.
The last time that anyone else did something like this was the Soviets in 1978. You know, killing the president of Afghanistan so they could start their, 12-year occupation that ends up leading to, just tons of Russians getting killed and collapsing the Soviet Union. I don't know why I'm bringing up this.
For completely, unrelated. Exactly. The beginning of this is very familiar.
Yeah. So
we know how the story ends, though. So,
so very successful raid. Although it does appear that like 40 Venezuelans were killed, including civilians, including women, were like just killed because they hit an apartment complex. Which so yeah, let's if you're an American and you're feeling kind of triumphalistic about this and whatnot, don't forget that doing this meant killing innocent people. This was always something that was going to happen with an operation like this.
Yeah.
So
what they did is the Delta Force, our special operations team, basically grabbed Maduro and grabbed his wife. Now Maduro and his wife were apparently in a safe room when they were grabbed, and Special Forces knew to bring a blowtorch with them. So they definitely knew the layout of where he was going, and they knew how to get to him quickly. Maduro did not fight back, neither did the wife. They both came willingly. So and then they were put on to another like an aircraft carrier and back to New York, where the original charges were made that Patrick was talking about earlier. All in all, if your main goal was to kidnap the leader of another country, it was very quick, very efficient. There were Venezuelan deaths, no American deaths. and that would be the end of it. But that wasn't the end of it, because now you have a situation where, you know, you have the MAGA administration claiming, you know, look at what we've done. We've now, you know, either going to restore democracy. I mean, there were so many different stories, like you were saying earlier, Patrick. You know, the first one was we're trying to get this guy out. Then it was about democracy. But of course, Trump had to open his mouth.
Of course he did, Chris. He's Donald fucking Trump. So,
and did you see his picture? Like his I'm better than Obama picture?
No. Oh, you mean at the special war room that they set up in Mar-a-Lago, where apparently they're looking at a bunch of texts on Twitter. Like it's
I mean, if you're gonna do one of these operations and you're the president of the fucking United States of America, get in the fucking Situation Room, get underneath the fucking White House or wherever it is.
Hang a bunch of black curtains around you in Mar-a-Lago.
Hanging black curtains in Mar-a-Lago.
That's
and you're
secure.
Hell, good old PDH was in there, so you know it was secure. So, I mean, I'm surprised no one figured out that knew about this. There's a good chance they didn't even tell Pete. So,
hey guys, what are we all doing?
Just come on in. Just come on in. It's going to be really interesting. Just sit down. You're going to like this. So,
exactly.
Because there's one picture of him like standing up, and that must have been like, no way, we're going after Maduro. What? Glug, glug, glug.
Yeah, what is it that Trump did have to say when he did open his mouth?
Thank you for bringing me back to that. What Trump did have to say. First off, let's start with the democracy point. So Maria Celia, right?
Machado? You mean the
not Machado? Machado. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So she was
the one who won the Nobel Prize.
Yes, she won the Nobel Peace Prize instead of Trump. She dedicated the Nobel Peace Prize to Donald Trump.
That's right.
And has been very, very clearly signaling that she would be in favor of military action to overthrow the Maduro regime. And in the aftermath of this raid, put out a statement saying that, you know, Uribe is the actual elected president, and we, interesting use of the pronoun there, are ready to, to take power. We are ready to, reclaim our rightful position.
Under any normal circumstances, if you were to remove a dictatorship, an authoritarian government, and you want to reinstill, what theoretically American values are supposed to be, let the people decide, let the people govern themselves.
Yeah, democracy, that thing the country is founded on. I don't know.
Democracy. Then there is a person who supports the current American president and also clearly has the support of the people. Her running mate, partner, political partner, whatever, also has the support of the people. We
literally won the election.
Won the election. The assumption would be from the very get-go that we are just going to usher them into power. We're going to make sure that they take over. Either there's a new election, or we just say or they figure out what they're going to do for themselves. But guess what, folks? That rug was pulled directly from underneath her, where Trump was just like, the Venezuelan people don't like Machado. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it would be really hard for her, to go in there because she doesn't have the support, it's just absolutely amazing to see someone who did everything that she could to flatter this bastard, to play the game. Yeah. It just immediately has the rug pulled out from under her.
I mean, in such an embarrassing and humiliating way as well.
Yeah. Like in not just in the sense of like, look, this is a very difficult transition period and whatnot, and we'll we're not making any big claims right now. We need to figure out, et cetera, but flat out like, nah, she just doesn't have the popular support, so we're just not gonna, it would be difficult for her. So no, she's nothing.
Which is like demonstrably untrue.
Yeah.
Like her, the people that she works with, they won the election. Everybody knows they won the election.
Are you surprised that Donald Trump thinks that who wins which election is the kind of thing that's up for him to determine on his own instead of asking voters, Chris?
Well, yes, I know. Yes. I mean, like, I think what we will eventually get to is, I will say this twice, but it's just the blatant in your face, lies. Because instead of putting Machado and her party or her group as the leaders of Venezuela, I hate using the way putting, we'll get to that later as well. But instead, Trump was like, we're going to work with the vice president. of Venezuela. And I'm like, hang on. I'm like, hang on, wait a second. You have people who are ready to introduce democracy in, and you're just going to go with the second in charge of the guy who you claimed was anti-democratic.
Yeah, the authoritarian dictator is his vice president. She'll do fine.
Yeah. As long, and then of course this is the final part of this, as long as she basically toes the American line.
Right, where he specifically said that she'll do what we say, and specifically with regards to Venezuelan oil, which is another thing that Donald Trump had to open his big fucking mouth about.
Which is the third part, yeah.
Just amazing, isn't it? Like to have someone just...
Yeah, before we get to the oil.
Okay, all right.
I think we need to also discuss kind of the importance of America dictating who the leader of Venezuela is, but even more important than that, I don't know if it matters right now because you kidnapped their president, but you didn't kidnap the head of the army. You didn't kidnap I don't know the current state of the Venezuelan military force or their secret service or anything like that. Like you haven't dismantled the organs of the state, and then
the regime is still there. The regime is fully intact.
Yeah.
This isn't even regime change. This is just sort of like we've kidnapped the guy who is effectively the president of the country, and now the Supreme Court of Venezuela, which is controlled by Maduro loyalists, has ordered the vice president to take up the reins of power. So now she is, at least as far as the legal system of Venezuela is concerned, the acting president of Venezuela, which means there's no disruption to the regime. And I think this is one of those situations where a bunch of people in Washington who aren't very smart and don't really understand how power works looked at Venezuela and said, oh, well, it's a personalistic dictatorship. You remove the person, the dictatorship falls. This will be fine. And what they haven't realized is, well, no one rules countries on their own. They rule because they have backers with, considerable power inside of the state structure. Maduro's rule depended not just on Maduro being Maduro, but on the fact that he had people in charge of the military who benefit from the continuation of this regime.
Yeah.
They need the regime to continue. They don't need Maduro per se.
You read the Dictator's Handbook, all right? It's very...
thank you. Yes.
In a very simplistic way, you got it. As long as the heads of whatever departments and police departments and whatever are still getting paid by the regime, they're not going to run around saying, we need to bring out democracy. No. 30% of the country supports Nicolas Maduro because he either gives them money or gives them protection, right?
Right.
So, but you didn't get rid of for example, Syria. When Assad left Syria, right, and he ran to Russia, people were shitting themselves. His backers and supporters were shitting themselves because that protection is gone. I don't know if the people in Venezuela are shitting themselves, I think the backers and supporters of Maduro, because they were on the streets like, where's our president? So what America, the Trump administration and MAGA has effectively done is they've not really created a power vacuum. They've created an opportunity for America in the form of oil companies.
I mean, this is what Donald Trump has been very, very upfront about, that the Maduro regime has stolen America's oil, which that's not how geology works, my man. The oil that's under Venezuela is not America's oil because it's under Venezuela. You see, it's owned by the people of Venezuela. For fuck's sake, right? So, but I don't know. Donald Trump's an idiot. Maybe somebody told him about the nationalization of some American investments in the oil industry, and he's like, oh, so the oil's ours. And it's like, no, Donald, that's not what that means. Never mind. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Just go ahead and invade, and we could seize the oil fields.
I think it's more sinister than that. I don't think it's like, oh, this is America's oil. It's no, this is oil that we want. I was listening to this MAGA pundit who was on LBC, and I'm assuming that she wasn't the best one that they had because she was getting rattled by some of the questions. And she eventually just started saying, listen, No one can stop us from doing what we want to do. We're going to take over any country that we're going to want to take over. This is, Trump is a modern day imperialist. Let's just get behind that. And you're like, wait, hang on.
The mask is not only off, the mask is firmly on the floor.
The mask is burned into ashes. And now, I think we keep on saying that, it's too soon. Right? Like, you have to do this now because you can't do this in the summer because that's too close to the midterms. You have to do this now so that people might forget about it by this November.
But that's crazy. Like so the political argument in favor of doing ridiculous bullshit like this, if you're in a democratic system, right, is that you have a nice little war. It's a clear win. You get the rally round the flag effect. You shore up your base. You get the doubters back on side. You bump your poll numbers. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, if you're doing it for that reason, then you don't want people to forget. You want it to still be like a thing that that's right. America, fuck yeah. By the time that November rolls around.
That's true.
But I don't think that that's what's going to happen in this case. And that's why, as crazy as this is, I think you're right that their best hope is that by the time November rolls around, people have kind of gotten over it and forgotten about it, because this. I mean, okay, so there's so many more threads that we need to tie together here.
Before we tie them together, oil. Yep. We need to finish the oil.
You're right. We need to talk about the oil.
Because this is insanity. I mean, because they're very open about we want to steal your oil, right?
Yeah,
and who's going to
have it? We want it. And we got bombs. So,
And let's not forget the biggest part of the Trump press conference yesterday. Not only did he say that, the vice president of Venezuela is going to be there. Not only did he say that we might have to put in more military. And not only did he say that, if we don't like who's in there, we're going to do this again. Not only did he also say that there are other countries that they might, want to be looking at as well. And what he also said was that the United States is going to run Venezuela.
Which is a wild claim, Chris.
Take that just for a moment, that the president of the United States of America, of any party, said, I've stolen your president. I've stolen his wife.
Yeah.
We turned off your power temporarily, and now the power's back on. And guess what? Marco Rubio is now going to run Venezuela. Yeah. Now, none of these things tie together. You can't both have the vice president running things and then you have America running Venezuela, which creates this idea that Venezuela, it will soon be, by all intents and purposes, an American colony with the vice president acting as the governor general and just doing whatever she's told to by Trump. And if she doesn't, in come the fucking gunboats.
It will kill her. It'll be fine. Yeah, we'll just kill a bunch of people, because that's how organizations that totally aren't mafias work, Yeah. Okay, so
think about that for a second. Just that he's dedicating America to running Venezuela. It's a country of 28 million people or something.
It has a massive coastline. It is mountainous and jungly, and there is just this is not. This is not territory that you can just sort of easily stroll on in with a bunch of troops and then just sort of control. I mean, this is holy sweet Jesus. Okay, so a few things here. Number one, right? America's going to run Venezuela, even though we don't have any troops in Venezuela, Chris.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Right. So this is a situation where basically we're just saying we will bomb you if you don't do exactly what we say we want you to do, right?
Gunboat diplomacy.
Right, exactly. And they think that this is going to work because Donald Trump announced that, Delcy Rodriguez, the new acting president of Venezuela, has agreed to do whatever Trump says.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that's not what Delcy Rodriguez says.
She said the exact opposite.
Yeah, she said absolutely not. We will never be the puppet of some, foreign regime. We will, et cetera, rally around, Maduro is our only president. It's just absolutely wild that he would go forward and just sort of think he could blag his way through that he could just sort of say it and then that would be it. The Maduro regime would be like, oh well, I guess we need to give up our money and our power now and possibly get killed that's definitely better to surrender and possibly get, executed by a very angry Venezuelan people than to, risk our lives defending the regime that our literal lives depend on. Like, I don't know why they would think that would work. But also, even by thinking that could get Delcy Rodriguez to be the puppet, right?
Yeah.
That means that they do think Maduro is the legitimate president of Venezuela.
Uh-oh.
Because Delcy Rodriguez is the person they think is the legitimate
vice president.
Yeah, it's the legitimate vice president of Venezuela, which
means
which means
that you recognize that Maduro is the vice president because he couldn't have appointed her as vice president without the powers of the president.
Exactly.
Therefore, you've painted yourself into a crazy corner.
Well, it's amazing. If I am Maduro's lawyer, I am taking careful notes about everything Donald Trump has to say, because everything here completely contradicts the idea that this is a law enforcement operation, meant to apprehend a wanted criminal in the United States, even without getting into the wildness of the indictment against him, right? And I would love to get into it, because I'm not saying it's impossible that he gets convicted if there's a fair trial. He is a prick. He's a horrible prick, and he's done terrible things. And I'm sure that they have quite a bit of evidence of him doing terrible things. I'm just not 100% convinced they have the evidence they need to prove that he did terrible things that break the law of the United States, where America has jurisdiction. Right.
Well, so I think we do have time after the break to talk about the case that they have to bring.
We'll do that then. We'll hold off for the moment.
Yeah. And then also the MAGA response after that. Go ahead. Sorry.
So my point is that if I'm Maduro's lawyers, even before it even gets to that point, I'm going to be arguing in front of the judge. Look, he's a head of state, and under international law, he has diplomatic immunity. He can't possibly be prosecuted. So this is all a farce, and you need to let him go immediately. And then I would say, and even if you are going to argue that, for some reason, diplomatic immunity doesn't apply in this case, what's the legal basis under which, my client has been brought to this court? This was a kidnapping because Donald Trump did not get Congress's approval for any of this. This was not done under any authorization for the use of military force. This is not something that is easily cognizable under the War Powers Act. What exactly is the legal basis for this kidnapping to have occurred in the first place? And even if you're going to say that there was some legal basis, somehow, some way, sometime, Trump v. the United States, the Supreme Court ruled that, no, presidents are, immune from criminal liability for any official act that they do. If I'm his lawyer, I'm going to argue, well, that applies to him. That applies to that applies to presidents. So, yeah.
This is the issue with the court case. First off, they're sending him to New York for this court case, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about this now, and they'll have the break after this.
Okay, that sounds good.
But they're sending them to New York for this court case because that's where the indictment was initially put. But apparently the indictment doesn't talk about fentanyl. It doesn't talk about drug. I think it does, obviously talks about drugs. But I'm not a lawyer, so I glanced over the indictment.
I am a lawyer, but not an American lawyer. Although,
true.
Yeah, I am an American and I'm a lawyer. I'm just not an American lawyer. Never mind. It's fine.
That's fine. Let's get past that point. But I think what the biggest issues that you're going to have is, first off, you're going to have to put him on trial in America. And I believe, this is just basic knowledge, but also saying that you're going to have to basically give him the same rights as somebody who's on trial in America, right?
Well, yeah, that's what it means to be in a trial, right?
It's one of the reasons why Guantanamo Bay existed, so that the people that were captured when America was fighting the Taliban and Al Qaeda, they weren't brought to America, because if they're brought to America, they'd be subject to American protections as well as our
where like laws. Things like having confessions that were obtained through torture would make those confessions inadmissible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm not some fan of Guantanamo Bay. I'm just saying that the reasoning why you don't bring foreign people that you want to prosecute to America is because now they have all these protections that he will have access to. He will still have some caches of money. There will still be lawyers who want to protect him because they haven't destroyed his regime. So,
I mean, okay, here's the thing, right? Like, you say that, like, you don't want to offer those protections to foreigners that you want to try in the United States. But I would argue that's actually not true. There's tons of examples of America extraditing criminals from foreign countries for crimes committed in the United States or under the jurisdiction of the United States. And then those defendants have the full rights that they have lawyers, all the rest of it, and they still get convicted because there's just a shit ton of evidence against them.
True. You know, that's very true.
We have, in fact, a really clear example of that happening.
Yeah.
And of course, that's Manuel Noriega.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who are, young, spry, and still in the bloom of youth, you may not remember the name Manuel Noriega. For those of you who are old and crusty individuals like myself, this name rings a bell. Manuel Noriega was the military dictator of Panama back in around 1989. And he basically annulled an election that he was going to lose, declared himself, like full-on dictator and all the rest of it. Him and the George H.W. Bush administration of the United States very much get crosswise. And the end result is that America finds out that he has been involved in cocaine trafficking into the United States, which is a crime. And so they basically they send in the army to arrest him and bring him for trial in the United States. Now, you might think to yourself, well, this is, on all fours with the current situation, right? It's happened before. This is happening now. What's the problem? There are some interesting differences. For example, one of the things that allowed the United States to do this was that the Panamanian government under Manuel Noriega, and you're going to love this, Chris, in the middle of this huge crisis and standoff with the United States, declared the existence of a state of war between Panama and the U.S.
Okay.
Right. So, so here's the thing. Because they effectively declared war in the United States.
Yeah.
There's already a state of war. The president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And okay. Yeah. I do not know what they thought was going to happen there. I think they thought that this was going to be like America's, pressuring us so much that there's effectively a state of war. So we're just going to make it plain and dare them to do so. Oh shit, they're doing it. Oh no. So Noriega absolutely gets, and he gets tried, he gets convicted. He's sentenced to 40 years in prison.
Yeah,
he was not a great guy. I have no real love lost for him, as you could probably guess. But you don't have a situation there where it's clearly illegal for the United States to have acted in the way that it did, at least after that declaration of the existence of a state of war, right? Here, that did not happen. So I don't know what the legal authority is whatsoever for anything that Donald Trump has done.
It seems like they're trying to hang everything on this importation of cocaine because, remember that that Honduran president that just got a pardon from Trump? It was also done by the Biden administration for importation of cocaine. Of course, Trump released him because Roger Stone was, he's my best friend and we need to get him out, right? Yeah. But he was convicted on conspiring to import cocaine into the United States and for possessing destructive devices, including machine guns. So they're trying to use the same. This is how you know it's bullshit, because they're trying to use the same charges that from the guy they just pardoned. To Nicolas Maduro, right?
Which, I mean, if that's another thing, if I'm Maduro, I'm thinking, okay, how much does Trump want?
Yep.
What's going to be the bribe I have to pay in order to get a pardon here? Because Donald Trump has made it clear, you can bribe him to get a pardon. And the Supreme Court has ruled that the president's pardon power is completely unreviewable. Yeah. And the president's official actions cannot be used as evidence of committing a crime, which effectively means that president is completely immune to any charge of bribery, which means that, presidents can, thanks to the Supreme Court, openly sell pardons to criminals
and this
for
is
money.
And we should be clear, this is usually through the form of donations to their libraries or
but they don't have to, legally speaking. Legally speaking, Donald Trump could just be like, give me $5 million and I'll pardon you. And
the going rate apparently is 6.
Yeah, 6. Inflation, cost of living, am I right?
I know, God.
Yeah. So the president could literally just sort of say that, And then the president would be completely and totally immune to prosecution for that. The only problem might be that if you're the person buying the pardon, you're also committing the crime of bribery, so you could get done for that. So
which is why you don't.
Yeah,
which is why you
make
don't.
It
you make it a donation
right?
to
exactly.
or like everybody else has. We can obviously keep on talking about this, but there's a few more things we should talk about after the break. So are
we going to take a moment? We're going to
take a moment, and we'll be right back. And we're back.
Welcome back. I hope that pause gave everyone a little bit of a moment to cool down. I know I've cooled down a bit. I'm definitely way less incandescent than I was.
Yeah, I haven't. But I'm always in a general low-level rage. You can't tell, but yeah, almost always. So I think we need to talk about now the American side of this, because Donald Trump came to office as the peace president. No more foreign wars, right?
Yeah, no more forever wars.
No more forever wars, right? Mm-hmm. And yesterday he declared that the United States has colonized, for all intents and purposes, Venezuela. So those two things aren't matching, but I've seen two kinds of responses online. Mm-hmm. I took a dive into conservative Reddit, which I feel like MAGA has, or whatever MAGA intelligence operatives there are, have been working very hard to get them on board. And there are a lot of them who are just like, huzzah, we've taken out a dictator. I'm glad that we kidnapped this guy. Don't worry, like there will be no blowback. Like, and like sure. Occasionally there's one person who's just like, does this make any sense? Is it because normally on conservative Reddit there's like there's like a probably 30-70 for like reasonable person to 70% of the people are like conspiracy theorists, and then there's the two people on my Facebook feed who are dyed in the wool MAGA till they die. And they were talking about the Minnesota thing, which we'll get to later, for about a week and a half. And that was just their constant Minnesota. And then this happened. He was right about Venezuela. And you're like, whatever they've told you to do, you're just doing it. Right. Yeah. So, but like not all MAGA is about that. So obviously there's kind of defunct and lapsed MAGA now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, she's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. She came out with a quite a strong reaction against the Venezuela operation. So I think she's we've said it before and we'll say it again. Like we have not seen the last of Marjorie Taylor Greene. The reason why she's stepping back from Congress is I think she could see the car crash coming and wants to be well clear of it so that she's positioned to move forward afterwards, right?
And maybe even be its new standard bearer.
Oh, I think so. I think she's going to be like the post-Trump MAGA movements. She's positioning herself to be the head of it. Yeah. So
like the thing that I'm really not concerned about, I'm just like, I think that I always keep coming back to that 30% number, right? Because like the MAGA movement has been let down now in every single aspect of the kind of voting calculus, in the voting calculus of Trump, right?
Well, I mean, if you're voting for him because you thought prices were going to come down, no. And if you're voting for him because you thought he was going to really focus on expelling, violent, illegal alien criminals, well, no, actually. And if you thought that he was going to, end forever wars and not, invade countries for no reason, well, you're just wrong about that. I mean, but on the other hand, if you did vote for him because, you just want to bring about the end of liberal democracy and the rebirth of a fascist international, I feel like you're getting your money's worth,
Yeah. Again, like I think that they're just finally like that one MAGA kind of pundit said, which was that the mask has fully come off, and she's just like, we can do whatever we want, no one can stop us. We can walk in and take anyone that we don't like. If we don't like what you're doing, we can replace you, or we can replace your leaders. And that was a lot of what conservative Reddit was like this morning, which is like, we can
fear will keep the local systems in line. Fear of this battle station.
Fear of this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're a bunch of Grand Moff Tarkins. And just so everyone's aware, Grand Moff Tarkin had a pretty bad time on the Death Star at the end.
That's true. It didn't go super well for him in the longer term.
But I mean, there was a lot of triumphalism, and kind of there's a couple of people on my feed who are kind of middle of the road MAGA, more conservative, more evangelical than they are MAGA. But those two things are kind of very closely fellow travelers, and they're just like, well, it doesn't matter. A bad guy is out, and but I don't see. I don't see how MAGA world will continue to maintain its full support base on this track of everything I told you was a lie. Shut your mouth and get on board with the next thing. That's whatever the new truth is today, because that's what MAGA is doing. It's that thing we talk about all the time about how Trump is trying to control the narrative, and they're just telling you we've always been at war with Oceania.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. And the banners come down in the middle of the speech. The, subjects of the sentence suddenly change, but everything else continues on just as it always was. It's kind of amazing. Like, okay, so let's say you are MAGA and you're looking at this and you're feeling all triumphalist about, we took out a bad guy, and, you're not in favor of like forever wars. You still believe that about yourself, but you are happy that this happens. And I think you could probably keep that as a nice equilibrium, right? As long as literally nothing else happens going forward. Right?
Yeah, that's like,
and this is the thing, right? So I don't think Donald Trump really, well, I know for a fact Donald Trump didn't think through any of the implications of this because Donald Trump doesn't think. But I don't think anyone in the White House has a clear idea about what exactly is supposed to happen now. Marco Rubio seems to think, we've, this is fine. This is a law enforcement thing. And now it's done and dusted, right? But if that's the case, then why are they treating Delcy Rodriguez like the actual president of Venezuela? And if you think Delcy Rodriguez is the new president of Venezuela, but she's an American puppet, okay, great. You don't have to worry about troops on the ground. She'll just do what you say because she's terrified of getting killed, and she'll hand over control of the oil industry to America. And this is all going to be great. And we're going to make a lot of money and we'll just steal the oil.
Oh, well, not we.
Yeah.
Some people will make a lot of money. Everybody else will still struggle to buy their groceries.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah. No, when I say we, I mean, the geniuses running the American government. Yeah, those schmucks.
Yeah.
So, but if that's what you think is going to happen, Delcy Rodriguez has made it pretty clear that that's not at all what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you thought that this was all about eliminating a dictator and, this is actually all about bringing democracy and regime change, well, then why is Machado not coming back? Why is Uribe not being recognized as the president? Why is the regime still very much in place? So if you are going to try to actually turn Venezuela into an American puppet and seize the oil, you're going to need American boots in the ground. And
exactly.
Iraq was hard enough. And Venezuela is so much more mountainous and so much harder to control for a foreign army.
Well,
good God.
I think you're right that MAGA, and that was kind of the sentiment that I saw in these chat groups, was that there was a feeling that it was over. It was an effective operation and it's done now. And I'm like, but he said he's going to run Venezuela. We said America is going to run Venezuela. Now, like you said, there's only two ways to do that. You either hope that the current person, that the governor general, does what they're told, but even then, you're still going to need to send in advisors. You're still going to have to track down the old regime and make sure that they're all on board. There's so much more when you say you're going to run. I'll put it to you like this. Who is going to make the Social Security payments to the people in Venezuela, right? If I say I'm going to run Venezuela, then if I'm a pensioner in Venezuela, are you going to be giving me my checks? This is a real question that you have to be thinking about. Or is the Venezuelan the government going to be making the checks? So who's
keeping the lights on?
Who's keeping the lights on? And and so I think as soon as that first American has to go there, it has to go there to ensure Trump's will. I mean, obviously, at some point, Rubio is going to have to go there to, show his face and show that, Venezuela, everyone's happy that this is going on. But, he would be nuts to do it.
Yeah, because the target on his back would be the size of the frickin' moon.
It would be the size of the moon, yes.
Yeah, it's incredible to me. Like, especially because if you did think somehow that you're going to get, Rodriguez to be like the American puppet, right, and just sort of do what America says, if you're part of the Maduro regime that wants to keep the Maduro regime going, because that's how you make all your money and have all your power, right? And all of a sudden, Delcy Rodriguez is like, and now we are ruled by Washington, and also you don't get to have all your money and power anymore.
Chevron is now running it, and BP,
right?
Like American oil companies are now running our oil industry,
right?
Congratulations, guys, we did it.
Right? Basically, Rodriguez to get overthrown. Like she'd get replaced. Obviously, she would get replaced. Obviously, there'd be a military fucking coup. It's just. I don't think that there's a way to just sort of they're treating statecraft like it's a game of capture the flag,
Yeah.
I got the flag, guys. Game's over.
Yeah.
Wait, why are you still coming after me?
And it's a very Trump-centric way of looking at the world, like you said before. It's that we've got the president. If you got our president, we would just stop. So obviously you need to just stop. And It's like, no, that's not going to happen. And so and I think that, in the next few probably days, weeks and months, because this isn't like those of us who study this stuff and, have, a little bit of foresight are like, okay, well, what happens in a year? Who is going to govern this country? And if you don't have an answer for that immediately, if you don't have an answer for that immediately, if you don't have a plan, then you've now created the real power vacuum. Because if you have opposing forces within Venezuela, which now have a lot more power. You have the Machado side, right? Who's like, we need to be the real government. And then you have the Maduro loyalists. And then you're also going to have the American puppet. So, because each one can claim the other one's the American puppet, right?
Right.
So you are creating a quagmire. It is a quagmire. We are witnessing the birth of a quagmire.
I really have to wonder, what's going to happen to Machado standing inside of Venezuela? If you are one of the 2/3 of the Venezuelan electorate who is the Maduro regime is, a bunch of larcenous, authoritarian crooks, and they have to go. And you have been backing Machado because, she was the leader of the pro-democracy forces, right?
Yeah.
And she's allied herself so heavily with Trump. And then she pushed for this to happen. And when it finally happens, Trump immediately throws her under the bus.
Yeah.
Right. He has demonstrated that Trump does not respect Machado.
No.
At all. And in fact, Machado has been a cat's paw for American colonialism.
Yeah.
There is no way that the 2/3 of the Venezuelan electorate that might have been an ally for the United States in all of this is going to end up siding with America on this.
Yeah.
Especially not if America actually tries to just steal all the oil for itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's America, Donald Trump has done everything he can to make sure that we have no allies in the Venezuelan political scene. So how it is that we're supposed to be running Venezuela without, without just killing shit tons of people, without having American troops on the ground committing massacres left and right in order to force everyone to
put on their hard hat and work for Chevron.
Right. It's just, this is just, unless this really is all just, a bunch of bullshit and it's all over and all Donald Trump's talk about running Venezuela and what have you, and, American imperialism, it's all actually horseshit and they don't intend to do anything other than just sort of well, we got Maduro, we're going to put him on trial, and that's going to be that. And we're going to declare victory and leave, right? Yeah. And then if Venezuela collapses into a civil war, well.
That has nothing to do with me. It's the old RFK Jr. argument. That has nothing to do with me. So
all those dead children in Guam.
Had nothing to do with me.
Who knows why they ended up dying because they didn't get their vaccines, just because I said, don't give them vaccines. I don't know.
Yeah. So moving on, let's talk about just shortly the global implications of what's just happened, because
that's the other big thing.
This is what has really keeps me up at night is that so the United States of America has just pulled a Putin, right? This is what Putin wanted to do in Ukraine. Go in, grab the president, kill the president, take over the country. Now, we haven't invaded with all the forces with that Putin did, but definitely scooping up a president and then kicking him out. And at least in this case, keeping them alive for a show trial is one thing. But there is no reason. Like I remember, so Richard Tice, the deputy leader of Reform, was like, "Well, what Trump has done is put, China and Russia on notice." I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah, I put him on notice that now you can do this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
has put China on notice that now is the time to take Taiwan.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't like basically you've now declared that you were in the running to be emperor of the world, but there's two other guys in there who want it more. There's Vladimir Putin and there's President Xi. They both want to be emperor of the world as well. Now, some people think that Xi and Trump and Putin and Trump have kind of done a deal where you get, the Western Hemisphere and he gets the Eastern Hemisphere.
The spheres of influence idea. Yeah, like, just the reversion back towards the imperialism of the late 18 and early 1900s. That fun era that ended with World War I and millions and millions and millions of people dying. That great era that's what a great thing to go back to.
Yeah. I mean, but like the things that this invasion and kidnapping has done is legitimized kind of the death of anything but realism, like, and this, like, I'm sure
it's the death of the international order. This, honestly,
it's the death of the international order.
Yeah. You know what this is? I think I've got a historical parallel here.
Okay.
This is the Italian invasion of Ethiopia in the 1930s.
Okay.
Right.
Gonna need a bit more.
Well, that's the thing. So Ethiopia, very famously, the one of the few places in Africa that was not colonized, was able to maintain its independence, and not for lack of trying. Italy, in fact, in the 1890s, had invaded Ethiopia to try to make it a puppet. And at the Battle of Adwa, Ethiopia just kicked Italy's ass. It's one of the really great moments in history. It's worth reading about. But yeah, so Mussolini, now in charge of fascist Italy, reinvades Ethiopia. This time they're going to do it. But at this point, Ethiopia is a member of the League of Nations, right? It is a recognized sovereign state. And the whole point of the League of Nations is collective defense, right? If someone attacks one member, all members of the League of Nations are supposed to come to its defense. And so Ethiopia's like, well, it's time for y'all to live up to your promises. And every other country in the world was like, yeah, sorry guys. For Britain and France, weirdly enough, they decided to sacrifice Ethiopia because they thought they could use Mussolini as an ally against Hitler.
Whoops.
Yeah, this was what's called the Stresa Front. It was a calculation that I think it's fair to say did not pay off entirely.
Yeah.
But it became absolutely clear to everyone that the League of Nations was just completely useless, that the international order that had been created to prevent World War I from happening again had failed entirely. And so that's really like the moment when a bunch of other, fascist nations in the world realized, oh, now's the time to start doing what we want to do, right?
Yeah.
So, you have the Japanese, re-invasion of China. You have the Soviet Union going into Finland. You have, of course, Nazi Germany going into everywhere.
Yeah.
It was like this moment that sort of revealed that, when push comes to shove, the major powers and the democracies of the world are weak and will do nothing.
Or rather, they only care about themselves. So if you can't defend yourself from someone bigger, tough.
Exactly. And what eventually the democracies and powers of the world learned was, oh God, if we don't want World War II to happen again, you need to stop Italy and Ethiopia. You need to stop Germany at the Sudetenland.
Yeah.
You need to stop Japan from going out of Manchuria. You need to stop these kinds of wars. And I think it's been one of the incredible weaknesses of the current international order that I think has now come to an end with this, that when Russia invaded Georgia in 2010, everyone was like, it's just Abkhazia. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. It's part of his sphere of influence. It's really, it's his backyard, and then when Russia invades, Eastern Ukraine, Eastern Ukraine and Crimea, right? Oh, well, honestly, so many
2014 Crimea, yeah.
So many Russians living there. I'm sure they really do want to be part of Russia. We're not going to ask them, but I'm sure that's probably the case. So is this really a problem? And of course, then we have the full-scale invasion in 2022. And now we have Donald Trump joining the games. And I think he's basically fired the starting pistol on the dissolution of the international order as we have understood it. And what we should be expecting in the next 10 years is a huge increase in war. Well, and we're just going to spend a lot more money on the military in order to not get invaded.
Well, a lot of people, a lot of countries now are, scrambling to spend more money on their military and their defense. And I think I think that, maybe we're slightly premature in saying it's the death of the international order. It is definitely the beginning of it. In fact, you could argue the beginning of it was when Russia starts invading sovereign nations, and, the world just kind of shrugs their shoulders, because obviously you need the political backing that you probably didn't need in the 1930s and the 1940s and 50s to do the right thing. You also had the UN to go in and and kind of do the right thing as well. But obviously the UN has been completely hamstrung by the Security Council, which in this case the Security Council, I'm sorry, the UN is going to meet probably, I think, tomorrow, and probably condemn what the United States has done, and probably try to put sanctions on the United States. But the Security Council can undo that and block it, because the United States is on the Security Council.
Permanent member, has a veto. And so, no, it's going to be one of those moments that reveals to everyone that, the international order depended upon the United States being its guarantor, and now America's switched sides.
Well, America has currently switched sides, because there isn't, I will, this is kind of the most important and potentially last election, but, in November, you could, if the Democrats do, regain control of the House and hopefully the Senate, then you can start to see this get chipped away at, right? Because then you can start going after Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, the rest of them.
Right. You can start seeing impeachments. You can start seeing investigations. You can start seeing, they'll be in a position to start throwing sand in the gears of the machinery of fascism.
Even a little bit. But they don't control the media like the right wing control the media. So that's going to be hard enough for them. But you're definitely seeing, I think something you always talk about as well is that I think the ultimate result of this, no matter what happens in this year or in 2 years or 3 years with the next election of a president, is that America's position as the guarantor of world peace is now is fully and completely dissolved and gone. And the world will look, we're not naive. We know America is not this, beautiful, peaceful country.
It's not a fucking paladin. But
it's not a paladin, which is a great way to put it.
It played an incredibly important role in preventing World War III, in preventing that kind of like anarchy and chaos from sweeping the globe again and killing millions of people again. Yeah, like the international peace is not the natural order of things. It took really careful, continuous, boring work to keep us all from killing each other. Yeah. And now Donald Trump has decided that, let's go back to all the killing. It's great. Yeah.
It was much more fun, and it makes us much more money. So I think no matter what, America's reputation, which has been damaged over the past 25 years, this is probably the nail in the coffin for, maybe American hegemony.
I think so. Even if, the forces of democracy are victorious in the United States, even if the United States is able to be reclaimed for, the side of non-fascism, right? I don't think it can ever go back to how things were during the Cold War and in the 1990s and the 2000s, right? And I think one of the things that really has become incredibly clear is that Europe has got to unite. It's got to stop fucking around. It needs to have a strong military deterrence. It needs to be able to act collectively. You're going to have some real movement towards, further cooperation. Europe needs, if there's going to be spheres of influence, we need our own sphere that encompasses ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't need an empire. Europe it's 500 million people. It is incredibly wealthy. Taken together, it is one of the largest economies in the world. It is a force that could easily be on par with the United States and with China, but not if we keep fucking around. Like
exactly. And it should have happened 10 years ago, but 20 years ago, but there was this assumption that America would always be there.
Right.
That's now gone. And it's just, we have to hope that there's enough time for Europe to, get its defenses up to muster, because the target is on Europe's back. And until
Russia will not stop with Ukraine, and Donald Trump will not stop Russia from stopping after Ukraine.
Yeah. And I think the assumption now has to be that America will eventually have somebody like Trump at some point, as opposed to somebody like Biden, Obama, Kennedy. It's, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to the last thing we need to talk about, because I think this is most important. It has been a rough couple of days, but it's been a worse couple of months for Trump.
That's true.
And the reason it's been bad is because of the Epstein files.
Yep.
So it did not escape the notice of Democratic legislators to say that this attack and the kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro was specifically in relation to distracting from the Epstein files. And also, like, there's been a couple things that's happened over the past few weeks, like this Minnesota Somali daycare story.
Right. Yeah. Like where several years ago, there was some incidences of fraud involving, people like, running daycares and then getting fraudulent money from the U.S. government. But this was years ago, right? Like this was like during
COVID. Minnesota looked at it. The Minnesota state government looked at it, and they brought charges and brought cases against some of these places. But out of the blue, really, because you already have the ICE stuff going on, distracting people over here. A MAGA YouTuber had created basically a movie, what he calls in quotes a documentary, and basically started walking up to random places and looking at it strangely, like, does that look like a daycare center? I don't know, scrunch face. And that got 100 million views. Because it was retweeted by Elon Musk and it was retweeted by JD Vance. It was turned into a thing by MAGA in order to shift your focus away from the real story of the Epstein files. Now we have the U.S. government kidnapping a foreign leader under very spurious terms. And it's, who knows how that's going to end. But what we are not talking about today in any length is the fact that the U.S. government has missed their deadline for giving a report on what they redacted, where they get their sources from for the Epstein file release, which hasn't even been completed yet.
What incredibly funny timing.
What very auspicious timing, yes.
I feel like I should make a YouTube documentary where I say, does this seem a little bit suspicious? And then make a scrunchy face.
Just ask a few questions.
I swear to God, no one is ever just asking questions. But if people are going to just ask questions, why don't they ever just ask questions about this shit? This shit that's actually questionable.
Well, the thing is that they did ask questions about it a long time ago, and then they got to the point where the questions could have been answered, and now they're telling you, don't ask those questions anymore.
Are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Is that his name? Why are we even talking about this random person that I don't know, but I'm in all the pictures with, and we had similar interests at parties.
Oh God! And not just that. It's one of the stories that came out, by the way, is that before he broke with Epstein in 2003, he was sending out employees at the Mar-a-Lago spa to do house calls to Jeffrey Epstein's place.
Ah, wow.
And these employees were subjected to, advances by Jeffrey Epstein, to like potential sexual assault and what have you. It was an open secret. If you go there, he's going to try to have sex with you. And this was like a known thing. And it was only when he basically tried to rape one of the employees who was sent over there, and HR got a hold of it, that Donald Trump finally was like, yeah, okay, he's, we're not sending people to him anymore.
Well, he's been caught. I mean, the thing is that it's no longer happening under, behind closed doors, behind closed doors.
Exactly.
What is terrifying here is what lengths you'll go to keep us from not talking about it, which is, I mean, if you're able to do this for Maduro, why wouldn't they do this for Mexico? Apparently, there's rumblings about he doesn't like what's going on in Nigeria, another oil-rich state. And then, Stephen Miller's wife posted this thing about Greenland with an American flag superimposed upon it. So, my fear is that to continue to distract from the Epstein files, they're going to try and destroy the world.
How many people will they kill in order to distract from the Epstein files? That's the question that every reasonable person has to start asking themselves now.
Yeah.
Like, exactly what price is Donald Trump willing to impose on the rest of the world to escape proper consideration of his actions with Jeffrey Epstein? Like, to prevent the information about who did what with him from actually seeing the light of day.
Here's a question. Why would he stop at foreign countries? Why not just start arresting mayors and governors of American states?
Good question.
I mean,
why not just order troops to open fire on Americans? If they get too uppity, if they,
start asking the wrong questions.
Yeah. I mean, he's a cornered animal. He's deeply unpopular. Like, it's pretty obvious that what's going on here with this Maduro thing is that, he's trying to, because here's the thing, right? During the Gulf War, George H.W. Bush's approval ratings went up into the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, it was just the highest level of support that an American president had in the modern era, right?
Yeah.
In the aftermath of the September 11th attacks, George W. Bush had massive approval ratings that were like in the 80s at least, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So like the rally around the flag effect is real. Successful military operations are popular. That is a real and known political phenomenon we see, right? Yeah. And I think Donald Trump is trying to get that done here. And I think he's made a terrible mistake because he has put no effort into monstering Maduro and turning him into public enemy number one. The way
true.
That
Hussein.
Well, that's the thing. Saddam Hussein did the work for George H.W. Bush
yes.
by invading Kuwait.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. America gets to go in and be the hero as opposed to go in and scoop somebody up.
But that's the thing. Yeah, the Gulf War, the Soviet Union was on side with the Gulf War. That was flat out like the UN being like, nope, no invading your neighbors. That is not cool. And so
America, do your thing.
Right. Yeah. So right there, it was like a kind of a perfect example of like, oh yeah, no, that's the international system working as intended. With the Iraq War, there you didn't have Saddam Hussein invading his neighbors. They had to spend like a year telling everyone about how, actually he's, stockpiling weapons of mass destruction. And then they couldn't get the UN on side. And then they had to do the quote unquote coalition of the willing.
Yeah.
In other words, launch an illegal invasion. And they were able to keep a very high level of popularity in America for quite some time before eventually became clear, oh no, this is a massive quagmire. Oh God. Where just tons of people are getting killed. And this is incredibly costly. What have we done? And then George W. Bush ends his presidency incredibly unpopular, right?
Yeah.
And here, they're not even bothering trying to go through the formalities. They're not bothering to try to do the legalities. They're not bothering to try to go to the UN. They did not even inform Congress until after the raid had already started. And that Donald Trump has made it very clear that, no, this isn't about peace and freedom and democracy. They have oil and we want the oil, and we're going to take it through. We're going to kill people to take their stuff because he is a felon.
But I think that, again, it's a great distraction from the Epstein files if you are very blunt and say, I have removed somebody and I'm taking over the country to get its resources. You can't really not talk about that because it's imperialist. It's brazenly and nakedly imperialist in a way that America hasn't been nakedly imperialist
since the 1910s, maybe.
Yeah, like sure, we've had Bay of Pigs, we've had the 80s and Central America, which are too many to name, and South America in the 50s and the 40s, and
lots of CIA fuckery. And, support for genocidal regimes in El Salvador, for example,
but it was all mostly covert. The American people were not, kept abreast of all of the things we were doing in all these different countries. Whereas where Donald Trump is like, oh yeah, the CIA did this and we're trying to take their stuff. And, we might have to do it a couple more times until you stop talking about Epstein. And it's just how long or how long can Trump maintain the support of the ever dwindling amount of that inky black core of people who will do whatever he says? I mean, when you lose Marjorie Taylor Greene, you have a problem, and they don't seem to be visibly recognizing that. They're just carrying on with whatever crazy plan they are. I mean, it's no longer outside the realm to see them try to invade or scoop up Claudia Sheinbaum, or invade freaking Mexico, which is insane, and that's a much worse idea. But we've talked about this a lot, and we should probably end on something a bit happier.
Do you have something? Do you have something happier that we can end on, Chris?
No.
Damn.
I just off the top of my head, I was thinking we should end on something happier, something better.
I watched the first episode of Death by Lightning.
Okay.
Yeah, the Netflix show about, I think it's Netflix, about the assassination of James Garfield by Charles Guiteau. Right. Yeah. Starring Matthew McFadden as Guiteau and Michael Sheen. Michael Sheen. What's his name? Michael Shannon. Thank you very much. Michael Shannon is Garfield. Nick Offerman is Chester A. Arthur, and he plays him as this thug. It's great. So highly enjoyable. The first, there's 4 episodes. I've only seen 1, but really enjoyed the first one. So that was a good thing, and I recommend it to other politics nerds who like good acting and Matthew McFadden. So,
and for not politics nerds, the Disney Plus over here in the UK is now showing episodes of The Rookie starring Nathan Fillion, which is a good, fun, simple police procedural, but it's fun, and it's keeping my attention throughout the past couple of days when you need a break from everything else that's happening. But anyways, we've taken we've taken up enough of your time.
Exactly, and we appreciate every second that you spent with us. So we're gonna now hide ourselves away for another week, so you don't get sick of us.
Yes, which means, as always, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Ramshaw,
and we are doctors,
not doctors.
Good night.